Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley at sprinkledwithglitter.com. Thanks for joining me today. Today I have two baby cards to share with you. Well, they're kind of the same card, but I decided to create both the boy and the girl version as I was creating today. And these cards feature the brand new Little Star bundle from Christina Werner and Concord and Ninth. I'm going to mix in a couple other products as well, but I absolutely love these word bundles that Christina Werner does. She's done a Christmas one, a birthday one, there's been a thanks one, and I've used all of those here on my channel so you can go back and look for inspiration. Now I'll also be using the brand new more thin frames from Christina Werner and Concord and Ninth, and I'm also going to bring in the quilted card front, which is an oldie but goodie from Concord and Ninth. I'm starting out by stamping the baby word onto some colored cardstock, and I'm going to be heat embossing these, so I'm prepping the cardstock with a powder tool before I ink up my stamp with VersaMark ink, and then I'll stamp onto this blush colored cardstock. I decided that I really wanted to make sure I had plenty of ink onto my cardstock so that my embossing powder would stick really well. So once I stamped this once, I'm going to re-ink and then stamp again. And that's the beauty of a MISTI tool, because you can be sure that you're stamping in the exact same spot. Now, once I have that stamped, I am going to remove the blush cardstock from my MISTI stamping tool, and I'm going to place some Tidepool cardstock into my MISTI stamping tool. I'll prep the surface again with some powder tool and double stamp using some VersaMark ink. Now I have both of my colored cardstock stamped with that VersaMark, and I'm going to add some ultra fine white detail embossing powder. I believe this one is from Wow, and I'm just sprinkling it over the entire area of the stamped image. I'm kind of shimmying it across the stamped image, and then I'm making sure that I flick off any excess with my finger. I'll heat set these using my heat tool, and I'm just making sure that as soon as that embossing powder is smooth and melted, that I move on with my heat tool. You don't want to overheat your embossing powder. You can make it kind of sink into the cardstock. It loses its luster, it loses its dimension. So once it turns smooth and bright white, you can move on with your heat tool and don't overheat. Now, once I have both of those images heat set, I'm going to let them cool for just a second, and then I'll take the coordinating baby word die and hold it in place with some best ever craft tape from Spellbinders, and I'm going to run this through my die cut machine. Now, as I'm die cutting the baby words, I'm also going to die cut that welcome die cut from some matte gold cardstock, but first I'm placing some double-sided adhesive on the back, and this adhesive is from Altenew, and that way when this fine die cut comes out of the paper or the cardstock, it will have some adhesive on the back side of it already. Now, you may have noticed that I have some scrap paper in my die cutting sandwich just over the top of this cardstock, and that was to make sure that I didn't mar the surface of this matte gold cardstock, because I'm going to be doing more die cutting from that same piece of cardstock. So I have one welcome die cut, and now I am going to die cut another along with the Tidepool baby word. Again, I have that scrap piece of paper in my die cutting sandwich to protect the surface of that gold cardstock, and then I ran this through my die cut machine, and I'm just getting all of my letters positioned. Now, this die set also includes the most adorable onesie dies. It has a solid portion, and it also has that detail portion. So you could die cut these from like contrasting colors of cardstock, but I decided to die cut them from white cardstock. And I've die cut the base once for each of my cards, and this detail portion I've die cut 3 times for each of my cards. And that's because I'm going to build up some dimension with that detail portion and kind of give it a contrast with dimension rather than color. First, I am going to ink blend on each of these baby words. I'm starting out with some Tidepool ink over the Tidepool cardstock and a large 1-inch blending brush, and I'm coming up about, halfway or so with this ink blending. Now, once I have the Tide Pool blended on, I'm going to switch to a mini ink blending brush from Altenew and some blueberry ink. And I'm going to really bring in some contrast along just the bottom third or so of these letters, or maybe even quarter of these letters. But you can see how that blueberry really bumps up the intensity on that blending. And I absolutely love Tide Pool and blueberry blended together. And I thought it would be great for this baby boy card. Now, as I remove each of these letters from my grip mat, I am wiping off the surface of the letters to make sure that none of that ink is sitting on top of that white embossing powder. And now I'm blending the pink version, which I am using Ballet Slipper ink for the first blend over about half of that area. And then for the intensity along the bottom, I'm bringing in watermelon ink with a mini ink blending brush from Altenew to kind of really bump up the contrast just along the bottom of these letters. And then once again, I'll wipe off the surface, making sure that there's no extra ink sitting on top of that embossing powder. I did die cut the baby word from white cardstock just one time and stacked these letters onto that white cardstock just to give it a little bit of stability and sturdiness on my card project. And you can see as I'm stacking the stamped and blended layers, I'm just placing them under an acrylic block while they dry so that everything adheres properly. Now, once I've stacked those up, I'm going to start working on the onesie. And this is where I'm stacking up this detail layer on the outline of the onesie or the seam areas of the onesie to create some contrast. So I've added some liquid glue to the front side of one of these onesie detail layers. And then again, I'll place that acrylic block over the top. Once I make sure that it's all lined up, I'm just using my fingers to make sure all of those edges are in place so that it looks nice and clean. And then I will add liquid glue to the front side of that third layer, add that to the stack, and then finally adhere that stack onto the solid base layer. I love the way this looks. I love building up the dimension like this. I think it's a fun way to use these, but of course you could use contrasting cardstock instead. I'm also going to do some stacking on this welcome word. So I'm taking the matte gold version, which already has the adhesive on the back, and I'm adhering it to a layer of white cardstock, just making sure that I align all of the edges with my fingers there before I press it all into place. And I did add a second layer of white cardstock behind this stacked up version for a little more dimension. And I do wish I would have put some adhesive on the front side of these white die cut versions because that would have made my life a whole lot easier. Now, to make sure I line up this baby word properly on my card front, I am cutting down the area where I've die cut that baby word. I'm just trimming close around it. And then I'm going to take the letters that are die cut and stacked up and nestle them right into that negative space. This is going to make sure that everything is spaced out exactly as it was intended. Now, once they're in the negative spaces, I'm going to take some thin mint tape from scrapbook.com and I am going to lay it across all of these die cuts and the outline. So you'll see me pick everything up using this tape. Then I'll flip this over and I'll add some foam adhesive strips to the back of these letters. I know that was a labor of love. And before I place this onto my card front, I'm going to position that thin frame onto this quilted card front. I die cut that using some matte gold cardstock there. And you can see once I have everything in place, I'm using my grip mat to hold my card front down as I position this baby word so that foam adhesive, the adhesive backing is exposed. I'll place this down, nestling it right into that more thin frames, which this is a brand new die set from Christina Werner. And I will just adhere that all down in one fell swoop. I'm adding my onesie on using some foam adhesive because I'm loving the dimension on this card. And that welcome word I added on right over that baby word at a little bit of an angle using some liquid glue. Now I did trim down this card front just about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. I added a pink heart to the center of my baby girl card onesie and a blue or Tidepool star to the center of my baby boy onesie. And this is where I'm trimming down that card front just about 1/8 of an inch on all 4 sides so that I could have a little barrier or a little bit of a border on this card as I place it on the card base. Once both of these card fronts were trimmed down, which I should have started that way, but I didn't really think I was going to want to do that. But once these are trimmed down, I'll add some foam adhesive to the backs of these card fronts, add them onto an A2 size card base, and that finishes off my adorable baby cards. I love this onesie die so much. I think it's adorable. And if you don't know what gender your baby is and you want to create this card, I would suggest using some pistachio cardstock from Concord and Ninth. I think a green is a great color for a girl or a boy when you don't know what the baby is yet. So there you have it, 2 baby cards. I absolutely love all of the dimension in the various ways on this card, whether it's from the ink blending or the stacked up die cuts. I think it makes it so much fun. Now, as always, I will have links to the featured products used in these projects in the description at YouTube. So if you're looking for something in particular, be sure you check there. Or you can head on over to my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com. I'll have that linked below as well. Over there, you'll find more still shots, more information, and a complete list of supplies. Let me know in the comments below, which one is your favorite? Is it pink? Is it blue? And no, this is in no way a gender reveal of my grandbaby that's coming in the future. I posted a baby girl project a couple of weeks ago and everybody thought it was a gender reveal. We don't know yet, but I am going to be a grandma at the end of this year. As always, I want to say thanks so much for stopping by and hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed these projects and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications here on my channel so you don't miss any of my paper crafting, card making, and live stream video tutorials. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.